Today I'll be doing a 5-quart oil change on a Harley-Davidson FXR. What do I mean by 5-quart oil change? When you change your oil normally, there's a cup of oil, roughly, that's stuck in the crankcase. So even though you drain the tank and change the filter, there's still a full cup of dirty oil in your motor. So I'll show you how to flush that out while you're changing the oil. It's really pretty easy to do. So first of all, on the FXR, where is the oil drain plug or hose? This is a really weird one. It's behind this little cover here, so I'll show you how to get to that and drain it. Where's the oil tank? Right here under the seat, easy to get to. Where's the oil filter? If you've got a newer Harley, your oil filter is going to be up here, but on the FXR, they cleverly concealed it, or not so cleverly perhaps, back here, right in front of the back wheel. With the FXR, what you always want to do is make sure that the oil filter isn't rattling around and loose. Like you can see, this one's come loose. If it comes loose, I'm going to make another video on how to tighten it. In here, see the fancy high-tech wiring system of the FXR. And we see over here, this hose. That hose goes to the bottom of the oil tank. So what you do is just grab this clamp, unplug it, and then drain it into a suitable container. There we go. And we just drain it into the suitable container once we've popped it loose. Good idea to have an oil pan underneath it as well to catch any mistakes like I just made on the floor here. Alright, and once that's done draining out, then you just plug it back up here. Grab your pliers and slide this pinch mechanism back up to hold it in place. Just want to make sure you get the pincher above the little bump that's at the bottom here so it holds it in place and it doesn't leak. Alright, so now that that's plugged back in, we're done with that part of it. Just make sure that you wipe off any drippy oil that might have been around while you were doing the job, and then put this back on. And just tighten these up good and tight to hold the side cover on. You might wonder why my side cover is red. This bike was custom painted. On most FXRs, they came with black side covers, even if the rest of the bike was painted a different color. Alright, so now we take the filter off, do it over an oil pan. There shouldn't be too much oil in here, but you want to have the a drip pan under it anyway. And I just have a little pan under it so I can get my arm in here and get the camera in here, and then pull the oil out. And just a little teeny bit of dripping going on after taking the filter out. Alright, so the reason we call it a 5-quart oil change is because we're going to pump a quart of oil through the engine to clean it out, to get that extra cup of dirty oil out of the engine. Now, in my case, I take off the oil filter, I put a pan underneath the bike because the oil filter is under the bike, and I run the bike with oil in the oil tank until I see clean oil coming out. So rather than the black oil that we just took out of there, once it starts coming through and looking like brand new oil, then you shut the bike down, refill the oil tank, put an oil filter on it, and you're good to go. Now, if you have the oil filter up in the front of your bike, if you have a newer Harley, same procedure. It's just you're going to make a mess. So you can use aluminum foil or cardboard, or use your imagination, but build some kind of a funnel to run the oil off while the engine's running. And then once the oil comes out and it looks like brand new oil and it doesn't look black anymore, then you shut the engine down, put an oil filter on it, and fill up the oil tank, and then you're good. Alright, so we're filling the oil tank with 20W50 motor oil. This is the Harley brand. On my Sportster, I used to run 20W50 Valvoline racing oil, car oil. And I did that for 43,000 miles before I sold it, and it never had a problem with it. Everything ran fine, so I'm just going with the Harley oil now because I know that it's formulated for this bike and I don't have to wonder if it's going to blow up on me. I'm filling the oil tank pretty full because I know that a lot of it's going to end up in the oil pan down below. Alright, let's make a mess. So I'm going to stand the bike up a little bit before I fire it up, so I have an even shot into the pan and get a little bit less messy that way. You can see how black that is, so it really is necessary to get that dirty stuff out of there if you want to do a complete oil change. Yuck. Alright, now it's time to get the oil filter ready. Now, because mine mounts this way, I can fill it up with oil to prime it. before I put it on with no problem. Now, if you've got one that mounts to the side, what I normally do is put a little bit of oil in it, and then just kind of keep it moving as I'm installing it, and keep it spinning around, and it shouldn't leak any oil out. The oil will stay at the bottom, but I always put a little bit of oil in it to prime it, whether it be this way or this way. So we just dump some oil down here, and then put a little bead of oil around the top of it, and then also clean off the surface that it's going to connect up to down underneath the bike or on the side of the bike. So on the bike, I turn it until the rubber meets the metal, and then turn it about 3/4 of a turn to 1 turn more. So there's 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. This is easier to do with a filter wrench. I can't find my filter wrench, but I know that I can get it tight enough with sheer arm strength. So that's what I'm doing, and that'll hold it on. And now up top, just go back to your oil tank, fill it up close to full, and then ride it around, and then see if it's gone down any, and top it off, and that's it. You're done. That is the 5-quart oil change. People recommend you don't have to do it every time, but a lot of people will do it every 3rd or 4th oil change just to get all that crud out of there. What crud, you say? That crud. I mean, it's really pretty gross when you look at it, and think about putting that in with your new oil. It's kind of pointless to even change the oil at all if you're going to have all this rattling around in there with your clean new oil.